What's up, NBA fan? What's up, all sports fans? This your boy JB, host of the Behind the Bench podcast network and channel. Just want to give a shout out to the rest of the crew. We have a great crew, and we are here to provide the best sports content possible. And for everyone who's tuning in, I hope that you support Behind the Bench, become a subscriber. And if you are a current subscriber, continue supporting Behind the Bench to help make this show the best that it can be. And again, we want to thank you because with your support, we have generated over 100,000 views, and we now have close to 600 subscribers. So you're making us stand out, and you're making it all possible. But let's talk about last night's NBA action, where the drama continues to unfold in Lakerland as they go on the road and face the Chicago Bulls at the United Center, where the Bulls beat the Lakers resoundingly by the score of 124-108. I believe that was the final score. And here we go again. It's the same old song. It's a repetitive cycle, and it's habitual at this point. And it is so customary, it's become boring for me as a fan of this team and a fan historically of this franchise. And just now, this is December. We haven't even hit Christmas. This is December, right? Now remember, 5 months ago, when free agency started, and the Lakers signed all these young players. Cam Reddish, Gabe Vincent. They gave him a 3-year, $33 million deal to be the backup. Wow. Jackson Hayes, Taurean Prince. Now they signed Taurean Prince, Jackson Hayes, Cam Reddish, and Christian Wood to vet minimum contracts. Well, they're getting vet minimum performances. Maybe outside of Taurean Prince, he can have a big night here and there, but it will all average out in the end. And when they made all these signings, they re-signed D'Angelo Russell, they re-signed Rui Hachimura, they re-signed Austin Reeves. Now again, I like Austin Reeves. Austin Reeves was an undrafted player scouted by the Laker brass. And see, what's missing out of all this, and what's sad about this is the Lakers scouting department is second to none. They're second to none. And that's what's tragic about the situation, because they brought in and drafted from 2014 to 2018 collectively the best young core, not just in the NBA, but the best young core ever drafted over a 4-year span during the one-and-done era by one franchise. And they're all gone outside of D'Angelo Russell. But as I mentioned in a previous video, his time is lukewarm and is treading water, and is to be determined, because more than likely they're going to be looking to trade him. And it's sad, man. It's sad. And what fans don't understand is, and what these talking heads don't understand is, when you're 3 months in and you're already being subjected to trade talks, that's going to impact your performance. But they're oblivious to that reality, totally oblivious to it. And as a result, D'Angelo Russell only scored 2 points last night. Now, this much heralded free agent class of players who the Lakers brought in, Cam Reddish had double figures, but it was academic. It didn't really have no impact on the game. Jackson Hayes, no points, I believe. Or he may have scored 2 points and no points. And Christian Wood, if he played, was only a minute. He didn't score anything. Rui Hachimura, who fans are led to believe is better than Kyle Kuzma, he scored 5 points last night. Now, that just 5 months ago, Rob Pelinka was being called Houdini, a genius, Einstein. We love Rob. Now already, man. Rob got to do better than what he doing. It's the same habitual pattern that basically has existed since all this began to transpire during the summer 2018 when they brought that dude to the franchise. They have overhauled, they have transformed this roster every single year. Even the year when they so-called won, which culminated in that bubble, they changed that roster because their roster wasn't going to hold up, because fans forget that was the oldest team in the league that year. Then going to the next year, they try to go like, semi-young, bringing in some younger players like Dennis Schroeder, Montrezl Harrell, people like that. But then they, Alfonso McKinney, Ben McLemore, then they brought in veterans such as Marcus Gasol, Wes Matthews Jr., because his father, Wes Matthews Sr., played for the Lakers during the Showtime years. And then eventually they bring in Andre Drummond and Dennis Schroeder. They traded a first-round pick and then Danny Green to OKC to acquire Dennis Schroeder. And then Dennis Schroeder was gone by year's end, and you gave up a first-round pick for nothing when you could have used that pick to draft a player. You see what I'm saying? So the more you give with the draft picks, the more unstable your roster eventually is going to become. Because you're bringing in players where you're not really scouting them. You're bringing in players because they have the most reputable name going into that next season. And you say, "Oh man, this is a hot name, so we're gonna sign him." Or a particular player, the player who they brought to the franchise, is leading the front office to make these moves, and it's not panning out, and it's not going to pan out. So here we go already, 2.5 months into the season, and talk of trades, demand for trades. We got to fire the coach. See, when you know your team, when you've been following the team for a long time, you pretty much know something's gonna pan out or not. You pretty much you can filter out the smoke and mirrors, man. You can filter it out just like that, because all you gotta do is apply logic. And what you do is you compare the players who they are bringing in on a yearly basis, where they can't last beyond a year, 0.5 on average, a season and a half tops. You compare that to who they let go, and it's showing time again that the output, the Brandon Ingrams, the Julius Randles, the Lonzo Balls, who had improved his game tremendously before he got injured. His first year in Chicago, his presence and ability as a playmaker and a defender helped propel the Chicago Bulls to first place in the Eastern Conference the first 3 months of that season before he got hurt. And hopefully he's able to return. That's how much of an impact Lonzo Ball had to that team, where Alex Caruso, where DeMar DeRozan, where Zach LaVine all said they missed Lonzo Ball's presence. He helped turn that team around. The Kyle Kuzmas, the Josh Harts, the Ivica Zubats, they can't fill the void. The Jordan Clarksons, they cannot fill the void. Last year, Thomas Bryant, who was drafted by the Lakers, the same year where they drafted Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart, and Kyle Kuzma, the Lakers drafted 4 players that offseason, going into the 2017-2018 campaign, where by that point, 85%, 90% of your roster was homegrown drafted talent. It was an amazing accomplishment by the Lakers scouting department. Amazing. And it was all for naught. So here we go. The Lakers have plummeted since that in-season tournament victory, as they want to call it. And they lose to the Chicago Bulls. They're 2 games over 500. And they have to play the first place Minnesota Timberwolves on the road. Then they have to follow it up by going to play OKC. So you very well could see a scenario where this team will be 500 going into that Christmas Day matchup versus the Boston Celtics, who overpowered the Sacramento Kings last night in Sacktown and beat them resoundingly for victory. So you could be seeing a situation by year's end. This team's going to be below 500. So really, this team is no better than last year's team. Now, they said that the so-called experts told us that bringing in Christian Wood and bringing in Jackson Hayes was better than Thomas Bryant, who the Lakers re-signed going into last year. And when Anthony Davis got hurt, and this is not a knock on Anthony Davis, I'm just saying that's what happened to him. They inserted Thomas Bryant to the starting lineup. And see, the thing about it is, all them young players that the Lakers let go, their young core, the real young core they let go, I follow all of them because they're meeting the projection that I anticipated after watching them play every single game before they brought that dude to the team. They're meeting the projections and in some cases exceeding the projections. Before Thomas Bryant injured his ACL during the 2020-21 NBA season, he was playing for the Washington Wizards. He was having his best season, averaging 17-8. And he helped the Wizards upset Brooklyn early in the season when they played him like two times within the span of like 2 weeks. So much so that Thomas Bryant got a game-saving block on Kevin Durant when Kevin Durant was playing for the Brooklyn Nets. Got a game-saving block towards the end of that game to seal the victory and upset the Brooklyn Nets, right? So when they signed Thomas Bryant, I was like, okay, he's gonna average about, if he's playing starter minutes, he's gonna get you about 16-9. The 16 games, I believe it was 16 games Thomas Bryant started for the Lakers last year, he averaged like 17-9. Right on the button. But he wasn't good enough, man. He wasn't good enough. And as a result, he requested to be traded because he became undervalued as a player. And he helped save the Lakers season last year until that mid-season trade where they got a boatload, an infusion of young players. So, see, what's happening is, man, see, by the moves that the Lakers have made over the past season and the young players that they signed this offseason, they know that, see, nobody's really going to say it. They know that they never should let that young core go. I'm talking about the real young core. But see, the fans that have been led to support this situation, they're being led to believe that the young players that they brought in is better than the real young core, and they're not. If you compare them tit for tat, it's not even close. And when you get right down to it, even when it comes to LeBron James and AD, yes, they're more established players. They were franchise players. They were superstars. But the thing about it is, if you develop and stick with Julius Randle's been on a tear over the past 3 weeks. He's been on a tear. He is equaling the production of Anthony Davis. Brandon Ingram is down there. He's playing great down there in New Orleans. And he's improved his playmaking ability. His production is darn near close to LeBron James. So imagine if you kept their real young core intact, the majority of them, because I know you can't keep everybody, but let's say if you keep out of the core 10 young core players, if you keep 8 of them, and then you still have Alex Caruso from the G League affiliate team, the Los Lobos Lakers, and you bring in the right store free agent that's willing to anchor their young core, this team will be getting blown out by the Chicago Bulls by 16 points. They won't be getting blown out. And do you realize and like I said, I'm gonna do a whole series about their real young core. Do you realize that young core during the 2017-2018 season, you realize they competed in 85% of those games, where most of those games came down to the last 4 or 5 minutes, and the only thing that held them back was inexperience and youth. But they was competing at the highest level. And they produced by season's end a point differential of -1. Let me repeat that. They produced a point differential of -1, which is unheard of by a team led by predominantly one-and-done players in terms of your starting five. That's unheard of. They didn't have no veteran player to help move them along and help them develop. They had to learn on the fly on their own. This team, fundamentally, is worse than the 2017-2018 Lakers led by that young core. Last year's team was about to crash before they got saved with all them young players. And then the year before, when they brought in all the Hall of Famers, the big wigs, as they call them, trading for Westbrook, bringing in Carmelo Anthony, bringing in back Dwight Howard, bringing back Rajon Rondo, bringing back Avery Bradley. They had like a point differential like -3, -4. So fundamentally, that young core was outperforming the Lakers team of the past 3 seasons. They let you know they was ahead of schedule. And if they would have stayed course, man, and built this team the right way, we'd be sitting atop the conference right now. We'd have been sitting atop the conference last year. We'd have been sitting atop the conference 2 seasons ago. We wouldn't have got thrashed in the first round versus Phoenix in 2021. See, this is a trade-off for the ages. But getting back to this game right here, the Lakers team is not good, man. The Lakers team is not good. And these talking heads, try to convince you, the Lakers had the best offseason. They had the best offseason any team in the NBA. And here we go, begging and praying for trades again. It's always a scapegoat. And who's always at the eye of the storm? Yours truly. And I'm not going to even mention his name. See, and see, as long as they trying to capitulate to that one guy, the further down the abyss the Lakers are going to find themselves trying to recover from. And that's a stone cold fact. So why not put an end to it, man? And go get back to basics and learn what these so-called lesser franchises are doing, and why all of a sudden they are ascending in the Western Conference. Maybe we need to be reminded as to what made us great. Because quite to the contrary, the blueprint that the Lakers was in the process of establishing prior to bringing that guy to the team, these other franchises, I guarantee, have adopted that blueprint and now are flourishing and will continue to flourish because they're going to stick to the script and they're going to see things through. And somebody's going to win a championship that you would never imagine it to be able to accomplish. Somebody out there going to win a championship. Denver's already done it. And I tell you what, the way the Clippers are playing right now, the Lakers don't match up to them either, man. It's going to get more challenging. It's getting real now. It's getting real now, man. They can't continue to try to, smoke and mirror their way, man. It's not going to work. So they've lost all but one game since they celebrated their so-called in-season crown. And they still got what? Let's see what the Lakers record. They're 15-13. That's 28 games. So they got 54 games left to go. Their team was not championship caliber when they broke bread at the start of training camp. It's all talk. You cannot bring in lesser players who their former team no longer wanted and try to convince yourself that you're going to win a championship. It don't work like that. But it all gets back to the reality that they cannot replace those 14 drafted players that they let go. That's the reality. Even when you got 2 superstars on the team, you still can't. You basically, at the best case scenario, you're talking 500. And that's stretching it. Because outside of the in-season tournament pool, they got a below 500 record. That should show you everything right there. So once again, we're right back at square one. The panic is set in. And the dire need to see this one guy win so they can continue this meaningless debate is going to lead to more pressure for the Laker brass to conduct and facilitate more trades. Because the history has shown that one guy cannot win unless he has a super team, and even then, it's still not a guarantee. So I just want to drop that real quick, man. It's the same old story. It's been going on for the past 5 years, going into year 6. Nothing has changed. Even, outside of that 1 year of so-called success at the expense of mortgaging your future out for the next 10 years, that's what that bubble truly represents. They have a cumulative losing record in between. Outside of that, the first year, no playoffs, 37-45. The second year, 42-30. You had to get through the play-in to reach the playoffs, just so you lose to the Phoenix Suns in 6 games, where the last 2 games, it was 30-point deficits, 30-point defeats. Next year, 33-49, you did not even make the play-in. Last year, because you got saved with a infusion of young players, you still had to go through the play-in to reach the playoff. And you faced incomplete teams, injured teams, but as soon as you faced a complete team with a top-notch superstar and another player who always elevate his game come postseason, and a complete squad, you didn't have a chance, and you lost in 4 straight. That's the reality. It's the same situation. The only difference is it's a new cast of characters. So I just want to drop that nugget. And until next time, this is JB for BTB, Behind the Bench.